Okay, let's take a look at the supplies you should pick up for yourself in the next couple weeks here. A 26 gauge and 24 gauge paddle wire, or also known as floral wire. I use steel or aluminum. Either one's fine. It's really thin, so it's not going to make too big of a difference. You want to get some nice strong bamboo chopsticks. I would get a handful of them so that you have options of making a variety of tools. And then you can just twist regular old steel wire around on itself, what's called a technique called lashing, when you kind of twist around and bring that around each side of the chopstick and then twist the floral wire on there to hold it steady. So you'll see here's the better ones, the professional quality one, the guitar wire string. So taking that floral wire, twisting it really nice and strong on there, and then using this steel stick to fill in the wedges. So you can see on these other pieces I actually filled in the threads that'll bond the floral wire to the guitar wire to the chopstick, and you just need a little bit of it. It'll go a long way. So save your steel stick. You can also crimp the guitar wire and scroll saw blades and other types of toothy blades into brass stock and pinch it in there with the wire, and also put the steel stick in there. For crazy glue, I like the Dapid Rapid Fuse Super Glue. It's a little thicker, doesn't run all over, and this is an accelerator or zip kicker that if you spray it on there, it activates it immediately. And then later in the semester, week 2 and 3 going forward, you'll need JB Quick to hold the armature wire together, arms and legs. I'd really make sure you get some wire cutters, needle nose, and just regular wires to save your fingers, and at least one carpenter blade. So just ask around. I'm sure you could borrow these from a neighbor or relative if you don't want to invest the money. These are really good basic tools to have. In the kits I provided for you, you should have the guitar wire. So you have a thicker piece, a medium, and thin. Aren't too much of a difference, but you can bend these into nice little loop shapes. And I usually will take and make the little U shape for the guitar wire by bending it around the chopstick or any kind of round. You could bend it around a strong pen or pencil as well. So just take your piece you have there, put it right in the middle, and just make sure it's round, not square. You don't want to get any sharp crimps. You want to keep it nice and smooth. You just kind of flex that around and you get your first little U shape with there. And then you take each side of that, you're going to press it, hold it tight against the chopstick, and then twist the floral wire around it to hold it in place, and then put the steel stick or the epoxy putty on there. So I kind of fumble around there a little bit. Um, but you can see here, you take the thinner ones, and I think you can do the same thing with a chopstick, but if you want to invest in some brass stock tubing, you get some brass stock tubing for a couple bucks, and then you have a nice smaller piece, and make different shapes, and then crimp the end there and put the steel stick in there for those as well. So these are your how to make your own professional tools. This one here came loose because it was so large, so I had to put it back in there and use a different epoxy. So we'll take a look at that in the next video. Another thing you can do is get cogwheels and make your own stamps. So stamp rollers are pretty expensive. So this is another like nice. So you just kind of make a straight pin out of your aluminum wire, your thickest one, usually the 1/16 wire. Get a nice straight piece. Use a steel stick and stick the little cogwheel. Get some cogwheel charms online and drill that through a little brass stock pin through your bamboo stick, and you can run your own stamps. So we will use the exact same techniques for this. We'll use the exact same techniques for the rollers in ZBrush, and using roller pattern stamps, alpha stamps. Here's the epoxy that is a clear Loctite epoxy that has a little swirl mechanism in the middle here. So I use this one that's it's a little more flexibility. So it's like there's strength and flexibility, right? So the rigidity of the steel stick cause a snapping on my larger tool, so I get the big what do you call it, bass guitar string wire, and a larger, thicker stick. So if you're doing big areas, it's good to have a nice large so that you can rake fast to get the surface area all clear. So I use this, squeeze out some of the epoxy here, and see it swirls up inside the end of the tube. And then I take that, and it sets fast. I mean, this stuff's set like under a minute, so you got to be quick. So I put it all over here, and it's just a cardboard box. I just use container boxes from food, from boxes and crackers, and squeeze them in the tube as well. So you get lots in there, and then kind of smear that around, scrape it up, and then push that in there. So this should work stronger than the steel stick because the steel stick didn't have a lot of space there, and it as you flex it back and forth, it was doing a lot of cracking, and so I'm hoping this is going to. This is what I saw some of the other professionals using as well, and so and then add even some more on there as we go. So let's see if I have some other pieces in there. So yeah, I'm just picking some up and applying it. So it's got a nice little bead of thickness around it to get, give it some more strength as you flex the guitar wire when you're pushing it along the wax surfaces on your sculptures. Use it for regular clay as well. And there should be a few other pieces in here. Let's see, yeah, that's good. And so here you'll see where I took, instead of the steel stick, I just went with the clear epoxy and I really embedded it inside the threads there. And it tacked, it's set up within a minute and it's already really strong in there. And so that's going to get down into the wires, into the threads of the floor wire and merge it together. I also put some and made some thicker beads. See if I can get the resolution there for my focus for the camera. A little bit better. There we go. So I went ahead and put some on top of those as well. So that way the crimping was reinforced and I put it on top of, oh, I didn't get the focus on that either. Darn. But you see the ones laying on the flat on the table there. You can see that I put the clear epoxy down inside the threads here where the crimping is too. So that way, because they will wiggle loose over time. And so I think having that inside the brass stock or inside the threads with your chopstick, that should be good enough to get you what you need for your main tools. And you only need like 4 or 5 tools, I think, or even you can get away with 2 or 3. See, it's still kind of squishy. You can still kind of shape it for a minute or two before it really sets. And it will stick to stuff. It will get tacky. And so I'm kind of, it's not really getting on my skin after it sets a little bit. So I can kind of push it and squish it. I hope I'm not weakening it as I do this. I'm assuming its molecular bond structure will really set as it gets stronger. So yeah, that should work pretty well for those.